Did you comply with this constitutional provision? E. Having said so, because the same is indicated in your document, do you maintain your position that the executive and managerial officers are Filipino citizens? Important constitutional provisions which must be raised pertaining to public utilities that includes the Ngcp. One is the ownership, that the same must be 60% Filipino owned and 40% may be allowed to be foreign owned. May I ask the Ngcp, did you comply with this constitutional provision?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. And the second important constitutional provision, Mr. Chair, is that the executive and managerial officers should be Filipino citizens. Ngcp, did you comply with this constitutional provision? Yes or no?
Yes, Your Honor.
Having said that, Mr. Chair, I wish to raise the information I gathered from the reports and various documents. First, based on the 2024 GIS of the Ngcp, the chairman of the same is a certain Guang Chao, a Chinese national. Does the Ngcp confirm this?
Please reply.
Your Honor, we'll have to refer to our GIS for that.
Yes, where's the GIS? You have a copy.
The name Zhu Guangchao, described as Chinese, is designated as chairman in the 2024 General Information Sheet of the Ngcp. Having said so, because the same is indicated in your document, do you maintain your position that the executive and managerial officers are Filipino citizens?
Attorney San Diego, ang pagbabasihan lang po GIS, ha? Yes or no?
The chairman of our board is Mr. Su Guancho.
Okay, Chinese. Okay. Yes, yes. The answer is
Are you saying that you complied with the constitutional provision that the executive and managing officers should be Filipino citizens only, considering that your chairman is a Chinese citizen?
Yes, Your Honor. Our executive and managers are all Filipino.
How do you consider a chairman of Ngcp? Is it not a managerial or executive position?
Your Honor, Mr. Guancho is a chairman of the board of the directors, but our executive officials and officers are all Filipino.
We take note of your answer, but this representation sadly believes otherwise. For this alone, it is my humble submission that the Ngcp violated this constitutional provision. Second, Mr. Chair, which were disclosed in the records of the Ngcp, Leo Zhao Yang, described as Assistant Chief Technical Officer. Leo Sin Ju Wan, described as Chairman of Board Audit Committee. These two officers are responsible for hiring employees and signing contracts with them. Having said so, Mr. Chair, may we hear from the Ngcp, are you still maintaining your position that executive and managerial officers are Filipino citizens? Liu Zhaoyang and Liu Zhenju are both described as Chinese citizens.
Your Honor, we maintain that all our executives and officers are all Filipino. But Your Honor, if I may, I have been looking at our GIS, but the mentioned names were not here in the 2022 GIS of Ngcp.
in the what?
GIS of Ngcp.
Mr. Chair,
What?
we will be flashing some documents on the later part of the interpellation showing these names, including the others who participated in the operation, most especially the technical aspect of the Ngcp. Another significant name that I came across with is Wen Bo, Chief Technical Officer. And he's described as well as a Chinese citizen, Mr. Chair. And with that, I wish to manifest, without asking anymore the Ngcp, that the operation is participated not only by Filipino citizens. Proceeding, Mr. Chair, I want to know more about this Ngcp, so I wish to ask the Ngcp, sino-sino po ba ang mga miyembro at ibang officers ng NGCP based on your GIS. May we request the Secretariat to please flash the 2024 GIS. NGCP, please. Of course, the document confirms Zhu Guangchao as the chairman of NGCP. And in addition to this Chinese national, we have also number 8, Yao Yusheng, Wang Lijin, Liu Xinhua, although their positions are not indicated in this GIS. Proceeding to our GIS on stock holdings, Mr. Chair. Kindly flash the next slide. The GIS on stock ownership. There. There is one corporation here, Monte Oro Grid, which owns 27.23% of its shareholdings. Another corporation, Kalaka High Power Corporation, which is 27.23%. Third corporation is State Grid International Development Limited. That is 36.30%. Plus the 4 Chinese individuals who owns 1% each of its stock holdings. From the face of this general information sheet, Mr. Chair, it appears indeed that the Chinese ownership is 40%. However, with all due respect to our esteemed colleagues, I wish to agree to the honorable members who insisted on requesting for the GIS of the corporations who own shareholdings as well, in order to find out the extent of Filipino ownership as it might affect as well the requisite ownership as imposed by the Philippine Constitution, and that is, to be specific, 60% Filipino-owned and 40% foreign-owned as may be allowed. And therefore, let this representation reiterate the earlier motion to Sestecum for the submission of the GIS of Monte Oro, Kalaka High Power, and if possible, a State Grid International Development. That is, if our intention indeed is to find out if there is full compliance with the requirement of the Philippine Constitution. Another corporation which GIS we want to request, as earlier requested, is the Synergy Grid Development Philippines, which owns 9.24% of the stock holdings of NGCP, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I want to go back to the 60-40 ownership. While I do acknowledge that the remaining 40% of the stock holdings may be foreign-owned, I just want to satisfy my curiosity. Considering the significance of this public utility corporation, NGCP, ang tanong ko po, NGCP, wala na po bang ibang Filipino citizens interested to own that 40% which currently belongs to the Chinese nationals?
Your Honor, we do not have any knowledge or aware of it.
May we know, NGCP, the primary reason why the NGCP preferred or allowed or opted to have this 40% be owned by Chinese citizens? Because the possibility, Mr. Chair, is that there are Filipino citizens or corporations as well who might be interested during the time, 2008, to acquire this 40% stock holdings of the NGCP. But as we can see from the GIS, that 40% is currently owned by State Grid of China Corporation plus the 4 other Chinese nationals. Pasensya na po, but you are representing the NGCP, so I wish to believe that somehow you are aware bakit po ang naging preference ng NGCP is to have this owned by Chinese nationals?
Your
Yes,
Honor,
ma'am.
may I be recognized? Your Honor,
Please.
NGCP, Mr. Chair, was incorporated after the consortium of its stockholders won the 25-year concession in an open public bidding held by PISAM. As required by PISAM's bid documents, again, Mr. Chair, all prospective bidders had a technical partner. All prospective bidders should have a technical partner with proven expertise in transmission systems. Since the National Transmission Corporation, Transco, was the only transmission expert in the Philippines at that time, the technical expert is necessarily foreign, Mr. Chair. So to respond to the question,
Mr. Chair, the NGCP made mention about technical partner. Can we please expound on this? What specifically did we anticipate from our Chinese counterpart when you said we need the technical partner?
Your Honor, technical would include the operation of the transmission systems.
You said operation?
And as well as the systems operation, Mr. Chair, so transmission systems and the SO. And these aspects, Your Honor, transmission industry, Your Honor, is really, it's highly technical.
Kanina po, sinabi nyo din, Transco lang ang merong technical capacity, should I say, or resources. And that is why you relied on foreign ownership when it comes to technical part. To enlighten the public, NGCP, are you trying to say na ito pong technical part ng NGCP cannot be provided at all by Filipino citizens?
Your Honor, yung konteksto po ng response ko was that from the beginning, and that nung nagbidding din po nung panahon na yon, nung binid out din po ito ni PISAM, other participants in that bidding is meron din po silang kani-kanilang technical expert who were also foreigner, Mr. Chair. So, kinakonteksto ko lang po, Mr. Chair, na kaya na hanggang ngayon, nagpapatuloy pa rin, Mr. Chair, yung composition ng NGCP.
Let's go back to the time when NGCP was incorporated and applied for a franchise, because that's what you are referring to. You were saying during that time, the only company which has technical capacity is Transco, and the other companies with technical capacity has foreign counterparts as well. Do you confirm that?
Mr. Chair, because transmission,
Please answer the question,
Yes,
NGCP.
I confirm.
And with that answer, are you trying to say that during that time, hindi kaya ng Filipino citizens to supply the technology or the technical aspect of the NGCP operation?
at the time, Mr. Chair, yes.
At the time, yes. And of course, when you say technology or technical operation, that goes to the heart of the very operation of the NGCP. And you were saying hindi kaya ng mga Pilipino. Tama po ba ito, NGCP? At least during that time.
During the time.
At kung hindi ito kaya ng Pilipino during that time, then it follows during that time, we were solely dependent on our Chinese counterpart who owns the 40%. Yes or no?
Mr. Chair, can I give a context? Because the bid document, Mr. Chair, requires for a technical partner.
Mr. Chair, I'm just following the answer of our resource persons. We go back to 2008. You said during that time, hindi kaya ng mga Filipino. Then it follows that during that time, we are solely dependent to these Chinese corporations and citizens in as far as the operation of NGCP, a public utility corporation, which ownership and operation is protected by no less than the Philippine Constitution.
Mr. Chair, kung sinasabi nating Pilipino, meron yung mga pong employees ni Transco na after na-incorporate na si NGCP at si NGCP na po ang concessionaire, yung ito pong mga employees na technical ng Transco has been assumed. So,
However, Mr.
for
Chair,
purposes-
even considering that they have Filipino employees, of course we understand that the citizenship of the corporation is determined by the extent of ownership of the owners. If the owners majority are foreigner, then it is a foreign corporation. Otherwise, it is a Filipino corporation. If I may proceed, Mr. Chair. Another important